Plan B.
Ooh, we're back off the bye week. Man, getting that rest. You know, we had the Pick 6 episode last week on the BIA Pod. And it's Penn State week, Phil.
Who?
Yeah. Definitely feels a lot different this year. I mean, it's crazy that it doesn't really feel like we're about to play Penn State. But before we get into that, how's your day going? How's your morning going? How are things with you?
Thanks for asking, co-host. Well, I just want to say this. The hat I'm wearing right now. I wore this hat this past Sunday to church. Shout out to Jesus. And one of my wife's friends said that she thought I was wearing a MAGA hat. And apparently more than one of my wife's friends thought that I was wearing a MAGA hat. So,
oh my gosh, really?
I know. I mean, hey, I couldn't say to her what I wanted to because we were at church. But either way, this is clearly an Ohio State hat. But I'm just making sure everybody's claddle while you're watching the pod.
Oh well, interesting. But yeah. So we are a woke pod. So, having said that, speaking of woke, we have a big noon game. We have to wake up early to catch this game on Fox.
Blackout game.
Okay.
Blackout noon game. I don't know if we're wearing the black jerseys or not. I see you got on the black hoodie. I know originally this game was supposed to be. This was like at the beginning of the year. They announced this was going to be the blackout game. Crowd is supposed to wear black. I don't know if they've confirmed that we're wearing the team is wearing the black jerseys, but yes, blackout noon game. Very ironic.
I think that teams shouldn't do that unless they're playing at night. That's just me.
I think
I don't know how you.
No, I think that's everybody. I think everybody.
Yeah, okay.
We're both wearing black in honor of the game. We plan that for sure. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's just the fact that because there's so many noon games that we have, that I think they want to have a blackout game. I think it's popular to have black jerseys and blackout things, but yeah, it makes zero sense to have a noon blackout game, especially when your colors aren't usually black. So you're putting on a special jersey to wear at the height of the sunlight. But it just makes no sense. But I know you sent to our group chat the 1 p.m. game that we have the following week. So that's what they were saying. Hey, here, damn, take this. Stop complaining about noon game. Here, 1 o'clock. What you got to say now? Hope all you Buckeye Nation is happy. We're not at noon. We're at 1 p.m. You got an extra hour to eat and consume your beverages before kickoff.
Yeah, that one is actually in West Lafayette against the Boilermakers. They're having an underwhelming season, and so is Penn State. It's just it just doesn't feel like we're about to play Penn State. James Franklin's gone. Drew Aller is out due to a season-ending injury. I mean, they still have the running backs. They still have their coordinators. Jim Knowles returned to
Big game Knowles.
The shoe. Big game Knowles. Big game Jim. What? Man, it is. I think the thing for me is I'm excited to see Ohio State just flexing. And when possible in this game, I mean, staying consistent. But when I say flexing, I mean just showing the separation between the two programs after a year. And the fact that Penn State had a somewhat successful year last year, being one game away from the national championship. We won the national championship. Last year's game was a close game in Happy Valley. This year, I mean, we obviously don't want to see it to be a close game. We don't want it to be a close game. It's a rivalry game, and you can't take those for granted, as we know. And it just doesn't feel like we're playing Penn State, man.
Yeah, who do you think is better, this year's Penn State team or last year's Michigan team?
I'm going to say
Let me remind you of their quarterback. origin
Yeah.
and that one white dude, and like basically they had three quarterbacks, all of whom can't start at a
Tuttle.
D5 program.
Yeah. Um,
Just gut answer.
I'm gonna say this year's Penn State team.
I mean, I think that it's important to remember that like this is a team that I just saw that the spread has moved since we talked about it last week. The spread is now up to 20.5. So we're looking at a 3-touchdown win projected for Ohio State. And it wasn't 3 touchdowns last year for Michigan, partially because we had lost 3 times in a row. But it's just important to remember that that Michigan team last year sucked. Like that wasn't a good team. We didn't lose to a good Michigan team. We lost to a bad Michigan team, and we lost at home. And so like that's part of that is just Michigan's unique place in the minds of the Ohio State coaching staff, clearly. But I think that it's important to remember in a rivalry, a team that's still talented, a team that Penn State is playing terribly this year. They're still more talented than every other Big Ten team. I would say they're equally as talented as Michigan is this year, and probably more talented than Indiana. And so it's like we can't forget that when we come to play this game. They should lose. We should be able to win, but certainly it is possible. And I think we need to approach this game like we approached the Michigan. Well, as fans, like we approach the Michigan game, where we have, confidence, but a little bit of like, hey, anything could happen. They technically could play their best game in this game, and it would be competitive as it usually is.
Yeah.
Even though we usually win, it's usually competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is competitive, though I don't think that we're going to lose.
That's a great note to say. Basically, that if they play their best games, this game is going to be competitive. Um, and I think on the other side of that, if we play our best game against their best game, it's still going to be competitive. I do still think that somehow, some way, we're hiding stuff. Ryan Day says we're not hiding anything. Clearly, our pace of play says otherwise. Having less reps for starters, and one of the things I think about is the fact that this is going to be a physical game, and I don't want us to be in a situation where we win comfortably, or we start off, and it is a slow start, then we pull away, and something happens to a starter that that is pivotal to our success down the road. And so, yeah, that's just one of the things that I'm thinking about. I'm also thinking about a running game a little bit. I mean, if there is a weakness that we do have on this team, it has been, in our last game against Wisconsin, which is a good defense against the run, that, Oregon just found that out.
Mm-hmm.
That it is something where we don't want that to be an issue down the road, especially against Michigan, against possibly facing Indiana in the Big Ten championship game and beyond in the playoff. So, not sure what your thoughts are on that, but I know that everyone in the fan base is going to be, most people who pay attention to that type of thing, right? You're going to be looking at a running game and seeing what improvements were made in the off week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that your point around not having injury, I was thinking like we've been pretty lucky to not have a lot of big injuries this year.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person I can think of was Bo Jackson kind of getting hurt or getting banged up, at least in back-to-back games. And so, I'm not sure what his status is for this Saturday in terms of if we expect him to start and play the majority of the reps. But I mean, I would like to see him look good. Even the running game is not great overall. I would still like to see him show some signs, because at the beginning of the year, in those first, 4 games, whatever, it looks like, hey, we found something special in this kid. And so I want to see that continue. So at least have hope that, we can get that done. Offensive line, I think maybe hasn't been playing as great against the run. I was looking up some stats and I saw that against the pass that we were like the second lowest in terms of pressure allowed in the country. And so offensive line is playing really good in pass protection, which is why Julian Sayin is able to be successful when he does throw the ball down the field, even though it doesn't happen, as often as maybe we want to see. But yeah, on the run blocking, O-line needs to be better, and hopefully Bo Jackson is looking healthy.
Yeah, there was something I thought about as you were talking, but that just slipped my mind. But maybe it'll come back to me where we will do the score prediction. But we do want to talk about a report about the fact that Brian Hartline is a candidate for the Penn State head coaching job. So this was something you wanted to discuss. Emotionally, I don't want to discuss it, but hey, we're here. And what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I know that I feel like you, off camera and Brandon in the group chat were kind of downplaying this, but I think, first of all, we don't know if it's actually, really true. It's, some reporting. I don't even know if it's being reported by official sources or just that somebody said it. It also just makes sense, right? You have a guy who is one of the more popular, well-known, young, coordinators in the country for the number one team in the country, right? Every time you're a number one team, you're going to have coordinators that are attracted to other teams, right? So all that makes sense. And Hartline, on top of that, has his own brand and own aura and own recruiting prowess that obviously, if you're a top program, you want to have. To me, if you're Hartline, you think about just like Big Ten country coaches versus SEC country coaches, and you can think about guys like the Notre Dame coach.
Marcus Freeman.
No, my bad. The old Notre Dame coach, the LSU coach.
Kelly.
Kelly.
BK.
Yeah, BK. Brian. So Brian Kelly, like, he's somebody who kind of people feel like, oh, he's out of place because he went down to SEC country and he was much more successful in the Midwest in that sort of area in terms of building a team that can perform there as well as being able to recruit there. And Marcus Freeman's like very comfortable at Notre Dame, and he maybe not be a great candidate to go down south, even though he's one of the hot young coaches, hot in his, his skills, not his looks. But he's, somebody who is, make it clear. Anyway, the point is, I think that it's important to remember that that coaches typically stay within their region, or they're at least most successful when they are in a region that they're already familiar with. They're already able to recruit to that region. They're already able to be successful in that style of play in that conference, right, or that area of the country. And so it would make sense that Hartline might want to stay in Big Ten country, quote unquote. Obviously, it's a nationwide conference now, but you get the idea. If that's the case, what are the programs in Big Ten country that are the most prestigious, right, or the most elite programs to be head coach of, right? You have Ohio State number one, okay? Then you've probably got Michigan, and then Penn State. I think Penn State is
Why are you including Notre Dame there?
They're in Big Ten country. They're literally in the smack dab middle of the Midwest.
Okay, I just thought I just thought you were going to just name Big Ten teams. Okay,
no, because I think that you're competing with Notre Dame. We compete with Notre Dame for recruits. We compete with Notre Dame for even fans in the region. Like that's a team that is on our level and in our region. And so I think that if you're a coach looking for a job, the same way Marcus Freeman is at Notre Dame, right? That's a prestigious enough program for him. I think Ohio State is the only school he would go to that's not Notre Dame in that region, right? I think that if you're Hartline, you got to look at this Penn State job and say, what is another job that could come open that I would take? I don't think he would take a Michigan job, right? It wouldn't really make a lot of sense for him to go to Michigan. So that only leaves Notre Dame as a Midwest Big Ten country, quote unquote, program that's prestigious enough that you would leave being a coordinator at Ohio State to go be a head coach of. And so, a couple years ago, he was interviewing, I think, for that West Virginia job. Like, that's his last job I know he interviewed for. And so this is a big step up, is my point. And so I think that if he believed he wanted to be a head coach in the next 2 years, I don't see a job coming open that is better than Penn State for him. Obviously, it could be like an SEC school, but we don't, or a Florida school, Florida State, for example, that could be. But if I'm Hartline, I think I would rather go to Penn State than I would go to Florida State, just because of the familiarity with the region, as well as the expectations, and just like, so I don't know. That's to me why I think we have to take this seriously, because if you're him, you got to think like, well, what are the other schools that could come open in the next couple of years that would be better than Penn State? And I think there's pretty much only one, and that would be Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great points there. I do think that he could recruit anywhere he goes. Just and the reason I say that is because he's been able to recruit outside of the Midwest at Ohio State, and I think part of that has been part of his success has been that Ohio State. You're telling people to come to Ohio State, telling people to come to Penn State. Um, that's going
Come
to
to
be, I think.
Penn State.
Shout out to the Big Ten commercial. No, but you're going to. That's going to be tougher. It's going to be a little bit more challenging. Now, um, I didn't want to talk about it because all of this stuff makes sense of what you said, and I thought about some of those things like, hey, what better Big Ten job are you going to take if your Heartline or is going to come open? If you're someone like Brian Hartline to look for something like that, I will say this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. I don't remember the podcast that he was on, but I remember hearing Brian Hartline speak on a podcast a few years ago, and he said that if he was going to take a job, it was going to be an NFL job.
Mhm.
Now things have changed. Things have changed between now and then. And do I think that he at this point in time is qualified to take a head coaching job in the NFL? Probably not. I think Ryan Day would be someone who would step into a role taking a head coaching job in the NFL before Brian Hartline. And that was what I was hoping would happen. Is that eventually Ryan Day moves on to the NFL and Brian Hartline is the successor to Ryan Day. But
Mhm.
you know, I think you made a lot of great points. If you're going to go to a Big Ten job, it might as well be a job like Penn State. So
Yeah, I'm not predicting that he will go, but I think he has to take it seriously because it's like, well, what job would be better that would help open up the next couple of years? So it's like if you think you might go in the next 3 years, then it might make sense to go ahead and go now, even if you don't want to, just because you got to think about like these jobs don't open up. Penn State hasn't been open in a decade. It's like Franklin's been there for a long time. Even when he said like he wouldn't go anywhere but the NFL, like probably didn't project Penn State being open. And so again, it's no Ohio State to be clear, but there you have to remember that some people want to be the head guy, and a lot of people who are in the top of their game athletically have that number one mentality. That's what makes them great. That's what
Mhm.
makes, I'm sure Hartline wants to be the best recruiter in the country. And that's why he is the best recruiter in the country. If he has that kind of dog in him, I'm sure he wants to also, I'm not sure. It's very possible that he also wants to be a head coach and be the best head coach. And you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you can't like celebrate that mentality in him as our coordinator and not assume that he might also want to continue that by being a head coach at a top program. So, but yeah, I think you're right. He could go anywhere for sure, and anywhere would definitely have him. But after seeing your boy BK get kicked out of the family,
Okay.
after seeing him get excommunicated from La Familia, you might be like, hey, you know what? I don't know. You go down there, they might never really see you as one of them, especially if you don't, get wins quickly. It's like, hey, this guy,
Yeah.
Northerner, doesn't know what it means to win down here. People always say that kind of BS when they're not winning.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be a tough road for them, but hey, we're not them, and Brian Hartline is on our squad still.
We got the right Brian.
So,
We got the right Brian.
so having said that, score predictions. Let's who's going first? Me. I'll go
You go
first.
first. You go first.
All right. I've got Ohio State winning a test to the tune of 27-10. I'll give Penn State a touchdown, but it's like hard for me to do that, man. Just seeing how well our defense is playing and how terrible their offense is. But who knows? They might possibly score on defense. I'm saying Penn State might possibly score on defense, but yeah,
Say it again. 20.
27-10.
Damn. I'm not, it sounds like I'm copying you, but I got 28-9. I got 3 field goals coming for the soggy Lions, the saggy Lions. Yeah, I think that there's nothing that makes me think that OSU won't be conservative offensively. I'm surprised you didn't give us another 50 ball like you usually predict, but they just aren't playing that way. And I think that Ryan Day won't be coming into this game kind of overconfident and be able to beat Penn State. So I think he'll be pretty conservative offensively. But yeah, I like our defense being able to get stops in the red zone. So even if they get down there on maybe some big runs, that we'll be able to stop them from getting in the end zone. So 28-9.
Yeah. Well, we are getting to the point where the college playoff rankings will be coming out soon. And, when you look on social media, it's getting pretty gritty out there. Big Ten fans versus SEC fans. I mean, the bias in the SEC is crazy work right now. I mean, some of these 2-loss teams who are ranked.
Tennessee, I hate them, but
they have playoff aspirations. Now we're gonna go and just speak on very quickly where we think some of these teams from some of these conferences are going to be presumably in the playoff as of right now. So let's go. Let's start at Big Ten. Okay. In terms of who we can pencil in right now, Ohio State, Indiana. Any argument there?
No, I'm with you.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the SEC.
Whoa.
I'm not saying that. I am not saying that we cannot. I'm not saying that we can't pencil in any other Big Ten teams. But go ahead. Who you want to pencil in? Go ahead.
I mean, literally, you just told me off camera that there are 4 Big Ten teams getting into the playoff as a given, and now you're only giving me 2.
No. What I've said off camera, since we bring it off camera stuff on camera, I was saying the 4 teams. I'm saying 4 teams. I'm not saying from each conference. I was saying the top 4 teams between the SEC and the Big Ten. I was speaking about Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, and Alabama. I'm saying that the top 4 teams in the country. So I should have just said the top 4 teams in the country.
It sounded like you were saying the top 4 in both conferences.
No.
Okay.
No, because honestly, I mean, at this point, we can't pencil in Oregon. Oregon has Iowa next. They also play USC and they play Washington. So they've been kind of suspect to me, but we're not going to get into that right now. But yeah, that's why I said, so my bad on that.
I'm with you. Okay, so we got we got Indiana and OSU from the Big Ten, and then from the SEC, we've got A&M. I think there are 4 that you got A&M, you got Georgia, you got Alabama, and you got Ole Miss.
Okay.
Those are all top 7 teams in the country right now.
Okay.
And I feel like most of Ole Miss has a very manageable schedule moving forward. Alabama has already played a lot of their toughest games. I don't know A&M has to play Texas, but Texas doesn't look that good. So I don't know. Those schools to me feel like, and A&M can afford a loss even, so it's like they can lose a game. Georgia, it helps that their loss is to Alabama. And so they have that, anchor there. So those 4 teams all feel very solid to me in terms of making it.
Here's what I think. I think that if Georgia Tech beats Georgia, then that will make it interesting. Do I think that they're going to lose that game? No, I don't. But it was competitive last year. Georgia doesn't look as good as they did last year. Georgia Tech, Haynes King is starting to get some Heisman.
Yeah.
Dark horse.
Shout out to you for that pick. Shout out to you for that pick. Yeah, Georgia Tech, you're right. Georgia Tech is better than they were last year, and Georgia is worse than they were last year. That being said, that game was very close last year. It normally isn't. So it's like I think that game was a little fluky, but yeah, it's definitely possible. I'm not banking on them. When I say Georgia being in, I'm banking on Georgia being able to beat Georgia Tech. But
So
you're right. And
so
either way though, that will be a quality loss. Georgia Tech is also a top 10 team. So losing to a
true.
top 10 team that's your
Yeah.
rival by a close margin still might not hurt them the same way. Usually we root for Georgia Tech to beat Georgia because Georgia Tech sucks, and it's like that would throw Georgia off if they lose that game. This year, it's a quality loss. We know how that works for the
Normally,
SEC.
normally I don't agree with one Danny Cannell. But I will say that I have to agree with him on the sentiment of, or the lack of sentiment in terms of there being a quality loss, which that some of these some of these SEC teams get the benefit of. Now, speaking of Georgia Tech, let's move on to I want to couple these together: the Big 12,
Okay.
your conference, and the ACC. We truly cannot pencil anybody in. Can we truthfully pencil anybody in from those conferences right now? And it's crazy to say because BYU is undefeated, UVA is undefeated, and Georgia Tech is undefeated.
I would say, UVA is not undefeated. UVA is 7-1, but I would say
I'm sorry.
that
You're right. Thank you.
maybe they're undefeated in conference play. But
In conference play.
I think that Miami still. I mean, I think it's gonna be tough to keep them out of the playoff. They're a team that still has all the talent, all the things people believed made them the team to beat or a playoff team. I think they still have the benefit of the doubt in terms of the ACC. They play SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt to end this season. Those are all games that they'll be favored to win. I mean, okay, they will absolutely be favored to win all these games. You're making that face because you think they might lose one of those games.
I just have something to say on it. Go ahead.
Okay, what do you think? What do you got to say?
I think that this week they go to Dallas to play SMU, and I don't think that's a give me game. They are favored. To your point, yes, they're going to be favored and all. I wasn't disagreeing. I wasn't making that face to disagree. Pat Narduzzi says something really interesting. I think it was last week. I don't agree with him in this, but he says something along the lines that the AC feels that the ACC is the best conference in the country because every week the team you could basically that is you could be favored, you could be a team that's favored, but then lose against another team in the ACC. And I think amongst them, yes, amongst the amongst the ACC, yeah, that's true. But they're not playing against all the they're not they're not playing against the top of the Big Ten, or they're not playing against the top of the SEC because I'm not going to include the middle of the SEC because people make it seem like the middle of the SEC is still superior to any other team in any other conference, and that's not the case. But they play at Pitt, I believe. I think that's the final game of the year.
Yeah,
and it's just like the fact that Miami is just one of those untrustworthy teams right now. They were playing with their food in the first half against Stanford at home.
7.5.
Yeah. So I'm just that's why I make that face. Yeah. Is that they're favored, but you still can't trust them.
I just trust them more than the other teams in the ACC. I still am not a big believer in them once they get to the playoff. But if I had to pick between these, like you're telling me I have to choose between Miami or a UVA in terms of what team I trust more, and I'm going to pick Miami because they're a more talented team. They don't have to play as well to be able to win games. Like Miami can play their B game and still beat every team that's on their schedule. Now they can't have their quarterback throw 4 picks and still beat every team on their schedule, but it's like Beck is good for probably 2 of those games every year, so maybe he has one more. But I think that that's why I'm saying, like, I think that they have the best chance. If I had to pencil one of those schools in, I would pencil in Miami. But yeah, I mean, I have less confidence in them being a threat once they make it to the playoffs. Like I feel, I'm not scared to play Miami. I'll say that. If it's Ohio State, I'm not scared to see Miami pop up on that bracket. But yeah, I think that the ACC could get two schools in. I think Miami and Georgia Tech both could get in. I think UVA is going to have to win again, brand wise. They're going to have to win the ACC to get in. But I think Miami, Georgia Tech both make it to the championship game. Loser could still make it to the playoffs. And Big 12 wise, you've got BYU and you got Texas Tech. Those are the teams that I think have the most respect nationally, even though Texas Tech's just lost. But they've got some tough teams, at least compared to for them coming up too. So yeah, I think like if all of the favorites went out, then I think both of those conferences are alive to have two teams in. And that's kind of interesting because that's not something we thought at the beginning of the season. It felt like both of those were one team, one bid conferences, and now they both have a chance to get two in. Part of that is because Penn State sucks, and people kind of assumed that they would be like the first, second team in the Big Ten. Indiana might be sneaking in at 4, and now the Big Ten only has 3 contenders. There's really not a good fourth Big Ten team that we can say can or should make the playoffs, right? Iowa has a chance if they went out, but most people don't expect that. So shout out to the ACC and the Big 12 for keeping it close, and we can celebrate that without believing that UVA has a chance to win, even a playoff game. Like, it's like those. It's still good for them, but I think that those teams will all be humbled once they make it to the playoff.
Yeah, we're gonna skip the group of 4 for time's sake. I mean, all that stuff's gonna work itself out. There's gonna be one team probably that comes from the group of 4. Shout out to Navy. Won't be Navy. All right, so we're going to take a break, and on the other side, we have our best bets of the week. Interesting slate of games here. We'll see who picks who coming up next. And now it's time for Pick 6, the BIA Pod's best bets of the week. 2 locks, 2 toss-ups, 2 upsets. And that makes 6. So, last week, Phil, you did a great job, man. You went 2 out of 3. Cincy, you're locking with Cincy over Baylor -3.5. The toss-up didn't hit, but you're upset Houston over Arizona State. Have any thoughts on the week?
Yeah, shout out to Big 12. I went all Big 12 picks, and I might do it again. Love the Big 12, man. But yeah, Houston redeemed themselves after I picked them earlier in the year to upset Texas Tech, and they got smoked. They hit it this time. So shout out to the Cougs.
Yeah, for my picks, Vandy sweated out a game against Mizzou. A&M, I mean, that was I did not see that second half coming, but that second half fired Brian Kelly, and then Minnesota over Iowa never had a shot. Never had a chance. So, having said that, we are going to go ahead and start with the Week 10, and because Phil had more points than I did, then we will start with Phil.
All right, I'm going to sound like you when you try to stall and you elongate every word. Okay, so I'm going to start off, I think actually not with the lock. That'll probably help me out, buy me some time. I'm going to start with my upset. And I'm going to go back to the well. You just mentioned that.
Gosh.
You don't even
go ahead, man.
Whenever you say that, I just want to say that. Whenever you say, oh, God, you never get it right what I'm picking. So.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going down to Utah, where I've got the Bearcats on the road. They're a 9.5-point underdog to the Utes. I think that's a bad number. I would bet that. I probably will bet that for them covering. And I think they've got a shot to go ahead and win this outright. Utah is a tough place to play. I will give them that. It's a tough environment. But the Bearcats do have a lot of momentum right now, number 17 team in the country. And they know that if they win this game, they're pretty much guaranteeing themselves a chance to play in the Big 12 championship game. That would be huge for that program. Give me Cincinnati.
That is probably the best late night game of the year.
Oh, yeah. The 10:15 Eastern kickoff.
Yes. You're right. You are correct in terms of the fact that I was incorrect in who you were going to pick.
I know you always go. Who'd you go?
Because I'm going to take a Big 12 team for my upset. We're going to the Little Apple, Manhattan, Kansas. Give me the Wildcats over Texas Tech. Reports are that Texas Tech just has some injuries that this is a 7.5 point spread, and Kansas State is at home.
Mm-hmm.
So Kansas State is hot right now, and I hope that this continues. Upsets, honestly, I was also trying to pick an upset that was going to be at home for the team that I picked. That was going to be a home team. So that was the best one I could find. The other one I thought about taking was SMU over Miami. I think that's going to be a close game.
After you just told me that Miami might lose a couple of these games.
Yeah. All right. So my turn. We're going to go with the lock. Let's go with the lock.
Okay.
I'm just trying to find the game. I know the team I want to take. I'll just go ahead and say the team. I want Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss minus 12.5. I believe they play
South Carolina.
There we go. Yep. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss by 12.5. South Carolina's soul was taken from them in that Alabama game, bro. I mean, my gosh. They had the game and literally coughed it up. Literally coughed it up. And I also was trying to find a lock that's going to be playing at home. So give me Ole Miss.
Okay. Okay. I've gone back and forth. I had an ACC team I liked, but I'm gonna go ahead. You mentioned just in your last justification the soul being taken, and if there's one team whose soul has been taken from them, especially for after last week's game, it's the Buffaloes of Colorado. They got smoked. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm gonna take Arizona. Arizona is on the road. They're at Colorado. They're a 4.5 point underdog. They're coming off of a bye week. They're 4-3, so not having a great season, but they have a couple of pretty decent wins and some competitive losses against teams that I think would also smoke Colorado. And for that reason, I've got Arizona being able to win by 4.5. I don't love it. I don't like betting on Arizona. I guess that is a Big 12 team too. Okay, I'm two for two Big 12.
2 for 2. Let's go with that. Let's go 3 for 3. Let's go Big 12 Philly.
There's an accident. I didn't even think. I don't think about Arizona as a Big 12 team. Like I forget that they're in that conference now. So.
Brett Yormark is going to watch this and he's going to reach out to you.
We're sponsored by the Big 12. What's their tagline in the Big 12?
Bro, I have no idea. Yeah. But I just know that it's just so strange that the championship game is sponsored by, I believe, the WWE, and the winner goes on stage with the WWE belt, and it is just the weirdest crossover I've ever seen.
Yeah, they definitely do it for the clicks over there in the Big 12. Okay, so now we're at toss-up, choosing a game that is a spread of about 3.5 or less, choosing that team to win outright for 1 point. Okay. And not a lot of close spreads in this week.
Yeah, no.
I'll let you have one team that I feel you're probably gonna pick, but I'm obligated to never pick them for a win. So, man. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and pick a former Big 12 team in the Texas Longhorns. Here's a team they're playing at home. I think Vanderbilt will probably have the majority of the money on them just because they're playing a lot better. And Texas has been stinking it up against teams like Kentucky and teams like Mississippi State. I've watched both of those games. But I don't know if Arch is for sure playing or not. But the offense did at least kick it up into gear in that fourth quarter. And so I'm going to go with Texas. I think that Vanderbilt is probably the better, more consistent team, but it is at home. I think that helps the Longhorns. It's a 1.5 point spread. This is essentially a pick 'em. And I'm going to pick the team that I would be rooting for because as Ohio State fans, we want Texas to remain ranked. And so they have to win this game to do so. So I'll go ahead and put all my interest in the Longhorns.
And I want to I fight that so bad.
Do it.
But
do it.
Nah.
Do it. Don't be scared.
Because I think that the risk outweighs the reward of this.
Yeah, boy's scared, boy.
That
boy's scared.
Strategic.
Scared, boy.
Strategic. I am gonna take for my toss-up. I'm gonna go with a team that I actually picked last week, not for the toss-up, but for the upset. We talked about teams who basically lost just anything that they had for the season. Their season is lost after a game. And you talk about Michigan State. Not sure if they're going to win a Big Ten game this year. Give me the Golden Gophers. I'm not going to say Minnesota the way I normally say it because I am kind of mad at them. But I'm going to give me Minnesota over Michigan State. I mean, I just think that Minnesota has demonstrated that they can be a pretty good football team as opposed to Michigan State, who has shown that they just don't have any guts. So I'm there with them. As Ohio State fans watching that game, being on Hate Watch, you think it might happen, and then it's just Michigan State. It's just Michigan State.
That's been the case for a few years, man. It's been bad. Yeah. It's been a bad matchup, a bad rivalry game. Michigan State fans basically just have to live vicariously through us because on my Twitter, I see more Michigan State fans like hyping up Ohio State than I do Ohio State fans. Like they just know that, hey, at least like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So hopefully Michigan State fans, Sparty, just watch our game, watch us beat Penn State and, wear some scarlet and gray. I like that pick. That's a good pick. I can see that. I can see that happening.
All right. Well, here's the rundown of our picks. For my lock, I've got Ole Miss minus 12.5 over South Carolina. For my toss-up, I've got Minnesota over Sparty. And for my upset, give me Kansas State over Texas Tech.
All right. For my lock, I've got Arizona beating Colorado and covering a 4.5 point spread. For my toss-up, I've got Texas hook 'em over Vanderbilt. And my upset, I've got Cincinnati going to Utah and getting the win.
Right, folks, that's our episode. You can catch some of our clips on TikTok at BIA.pod. That's BIA.pod. Enjoy Penn State week. Enjoy the game as Ohio State takes on Penn State at Big Noon. As we always try our best to end the show. OH.
I-O. Go Bucks.